Welcome to the 2025 Psychosocial Safety Summit coming to you in March in Williamtown. We're doing things differently again this year by introducing you to the speakers and partners in the lead up to the summit. The reason why is because at so many events, insights about the speakers get missed unless you're lucky enough to sit with them or you meet with them afterwards. And I want to change that by helping you connect with these incredible people before you arrive. And if you haven't grabbed your ticket yet, don't wait, jump on the link below to secure your spot. Now, today, I would love to introduce you to John Toomey. And John, you are back again. This is your second summit. What made you come back for more? And what did you love about the Brisbane summit?
Look, it was, I've spoken at a lot of safety summits, but this one, it was like, had this, I'm going to use a word that I really like, but it's a word that really describes it. There was this incredible togetherness in that summit, The speakers were great. And, when they weren't speaking, they were just sitting amongst everybody else, and everybody was just really lovely and really connected. And there was some beautiful information shared, and all of the people that attended that summit would have gone away with just a wealth of ideas and new understandings to help them work on building the culture that they're managing so much better. Yeah, so it was a brilliant summit. It wasn't filled with sort of what shall I say, banal academia. It was really rich and interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm still getting incredible feedback to this day. And, you were one of the favorites. Everyone was a favorite, but your name was mentioned quite a lot. And it really helped change people's perspective in some areas as well. And I'm so grateful that you're coming back again in 2025. I'm really looking forward to it. You are talking about a different topic this time, but your energy, your vibe, the way you show up and the way you support people is exactly what the summit is about. And there might be some people who haven't met you before. So before we dive into some of the other questions that I've got for you, can you tell us a little bit about your background and experience?
Yeah, sure. Well, I've been in this realm for a long time. I started out studying physical education. Did my master's studies in my mid-20s. Lectured in physical education for a long time. But even before that, I was lecturing as a 20 and 21-year-old. A mate of mine and I wrote the first ever aerobics teacher training course. Can
Wow.
you believe that? And so, because aerobics was just taking off then, and there was a lot of people who were doing it who didn't have any sort of knowledge of exercise prescription or physiology. So we wanted to teach them so that they could plan their classes more effectively. So the state government in Victoria got behind that. And so, we were teaching, and then I wrote a course for gym instructors and all that sort of thing. But I'm just a curious human being, and if you tell me something that doesn't land for me at a place where I understand it, I've got to keep exploring till I understand.
Mm.
So I can't teach you something that I've heard if it hasn't fallen into my DNA. So that curiosity led me down a lot of paths. I've had a lot of really broad learning. I worked in high performance roles for 7 different AFL clubs. And when you're training elite athletes, boy, does your Western science education get challenged, because you meet talented athletes who do not fit the dogma of the Western science. So you've got to step outside. So I started exploring, talking to yogis and qigong masters and wushu masters, and then I started exploring their philosophies. And so that led me, and then I did an avatar course in 2005 and studied under that for a very long time. And so just developed this really broad understanding of human well-being, whether it be physical, emotional, mental, psychosocial, spiritual, whatever you want to take it to. So, and because of that, and because there's so many really cool people in the world doing incredible research, and we've got this beautiful thing called the internet where people can share their research and you don't have to go looking for it. We discover new things all the time. And that's how we arrived at this topic that we're going to talk about at the summit.
Yes. And I just want to mention here too, you're also an author and a podcast host.
Yes, oh yeah, I forgot about that. I'm actually just contemplating now writing another book, but yeah, I wrote a book in 2021 during lockdown for FIFO workers called In It for the Long Haul. And the book was really designed to help the worker and their families make a better fist of the role. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. And my podcast is all about masculinity and healthy masculinity. But I want to drop that word healthy because it's just masculinity, right? You know?
Exactly. Yes, I love that. And I have a signed copy of your book, so I really appreciate that. And it is on my list of books. It's actually on my pile just behind me of books to read. So it will definitely get read this year, hopefully before the summit, so I can show you my highlights and ask you any more questions.
Fantastic.
But you're also the founder of Wide Awake Wellness and the Wellbeing Thought Leaders. Can you
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about those and what inspired you to start your own business?
Yeah, well, see, Wide Awake Wellness started because um, some years ago, Kevin Waldock, who's a bit of a legend in the blast and drill business, he's from the Hunter Valley, would you believe
Mhm.
it? And Kevin's a good friend, and he was a racing car driver as well. And he had a blast and drill site at the Curragh coal mine up near Blackwater.
Mhm.
And he rang me one day and he said, "What do you know about fatigue?" I remember it was 2012. And I said, "Oh, well, coaching elite athletes, fatigue's the tool that we use to elicit a response, you know? Why?" And he said, "I've got a fatigue problem here and I've got a personal responsibility problem." And basically, he had 4 shifts. So two 12-hour shifts would work 7 days, day and night.
Yep.
Then they'd leave and 2 new shifts would come in. And a heap of those young guys, as soon as they'd finished work on their last 12-hour shift, they'd jump in their car and drive to the Sunshine Coast, 9 hours. And he said, I'm fearful that they'll kill themselves. And then if they do, they'll probably kill somebody else as well. And he said,
Yeah.
there's 2 problems with that. Number one, I love them and I don't want them to die. And number two, it'll probably wipe me out financially if they do, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
And so I put together a program and went up and delivered it to him. And delivered it, and he brought in the safety managers from the mine, and that program took off right around Australia. I can't tell you how many times I taught that program. And so that whole thing about being awake and alert and being very and not being drowsy while at work was one thing. But then the other thing about being awake is having your attention out and being aware of what's going on around you. So then Wide Awake sort of grew out of that philosophy.
Yeah.
And so the Wellbeing Thought Leaders, I didn't want to just limit myself to heavy industry. I want to look into all other areas. And so we're bringing new ideas and new learnings into the system. And somebody said to me, you're one of the world's thought leaders on well-being, and I thought I'd never contemplated that. But I thought that that was a really good brand to create some trust around bringing new information into the world. So we do
Mm.
that with our writing and speaking. So basically, we're an education agency. We create content both in video, audio, and in written content, and also deliver the educational seminars. So yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. So is that in a nutshell how you help organizations thrive?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, with the psychosocial risk, I mean, the laws are pretty strict on the companies. There's
Mm.
so much onus being placed on the companies to do everything they can to make a workplace that is free from any sort of duress.
Yeah.
Well, the world ain't that Pollyanna, you know,
I
and
know.
the weakness and the flaw of that is people. And the reality is, Nicole, I could sit here right now and I could look you in the eye and insult you.
Mm.
I could find out something from your dark past that you don't want people to know, and I could just hit you with it, right? Now, then what happens there? You can either decide to allow that to destroy your life and feel humiliated and lock yourself up and not come out anymore and sob in your bedroom. Or you could take another stance to go, wow, I wonder why John felt like he needed to do that.
Mm.
That's old, you know.
Mm.
But you have the potential to be the master of your response.
Yes.
Now, what's happened in workplaces, and I think this is a byproduct of a wealthy, comfort-seeking society,
Mm.
whereas people just get offended and upset so damn easily, and
Yeah.
they lose their compassion and they lose their resilience. Whereas, really, when somebody says something nasty to me, I know two things. Number one, they're not having a good day. Number
Mhm.
two, they're projecting. So there's something they don't like themselves that they're trying to put on me. And
Mhm.
number three, I can choose to be upset, offended, agitated, or entertained by it, you know?
Yeah.
And I choose the fourth option. So I'm in charge of my response. So my work is to go into the workplace and work with the workforce to help them to understand that they can be happy all the time, no matter what's happening around them, and that they don't have to react to everything.
Yeah.
Okay, react to fire. That's a good one to react to. But
Yeah.
even then, you can do a managed response so you make good decisions, but you don't have to react to other people, you know? So that's my gig. I support companies from the other end by working from the ground up to help the people be better to each other. And also at the same point in time, you know, if a third person's here when I said that to you, that third person would come over to me instead of treating you like a victim. They might check and say, "Hey, you okay, Nicole?" And
Mm.
then they come to me and go, "Johnny, come for a walk. We need to have a bit of a chat, mate.
Yes.
What's going on? You know?"
Yes. And
Mm.
that's missing in quite a few places.
Mhm.
But what you've just shared there is really aligned on what you're going to go into detail with in the summit as well, because some people feel sometimes that they react and they don't mean to, or we look at it later and think, oh, why did I respond that way? Why didn't I just let it roll off the, water off a duck's back? What got me so upset about, something that I probably, and I know I'm speaking on personal experience. Why did that upset me? It probably shouldn't have. Whereas
Yeah.
other days I can be, completely resilient and not even worry. Um,
Yeah.
so do you want to just give a bit of a sneak peek into what you're going to chat about at the summit?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of men in workplaces, right?
Hmm.
And one of the things that men do love to do is take care of their families.
Hmm.
And what's come to light in recent years, because we're learning all the time, and investigative equipment, it gets better and better and better. And so we now understand that part of our gut is intrinsically connected to our brain. We call it the gut brain. And it's so important. I mean, it's beyond important. So keeping the gut healthy is important for keeping the brain nice and healthy.
Mm.
And if the gut has been damaged, now, when I say damaged, the small intestine has got very sensitive membranes. And if those membranes get damaged, you get inflammation in the gut. And the biggest cause of that damage is glyphosate, or what we call Roundup, right? Doing terrible damage to people's guts. But then also the other part that sits right on top of that membrane is the microbiome, which is all of the profoundly clever bacteria. And there's a whole realm of different strains of these bacteria. And when the gut is fully healthy and it's all thriving, your immune system is really strong and your gut is really healthy. So the likelihood of you having any problems with your brain is
Mm.
almost zero.
Yeah.
But when you damage the gut and you damage that microflora in the gut, then you create a space where inflammation can grow, and then that can drag a person down into a dark cellar of depression.
Yeah.
It can make them feel anxiety and reactive.
Hmm.
They don't really know why they're anxiety and reactive. In fact, they get home from work and they can't wait to have some alcohol to calm them down.
Yep.
And what we've learned just recently is that antibiotics have been a huge factor in this.
Yep.
Because when you take antibiotics, they're designed to kill anaerobic bacteria, which are the ones that create infection, but they also kill aerobic bacteria, which is the gut.
Yep.
And I'm going to reveal some stunning things about antibiotics and the use of antibiotics on what it's done to some people's mental health. And
Yeah.
some people are struggling in the workplace because of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to really, and I'm going to give some roadmaps as to how to help those people to recover a healthy gut so that they can not, live their life without any of those sort of handbrakes that are holding them back.
Yeah. Because some organizations I know are doing incredible things when it comes to mental health and well-being, programs, initiatives, support. It seems to work with some, but not with others. And maybe this is the missing link.
Yeah, well, it very well could be. I mean, like I can't remember the last time I had antibiotics. It would be over 50 years ago. You just
Mm,
don't use them, right?
mm,
And it was very funny. My son, he's 30, he turned 35 a few days ago. And when he was 26 or 27, he needed to have a day procedure at a plastic surgeon's because he had quite a large lipoma on his arm.
mhm.
And when they'd finished the surgery and stitched him up and he was in a sling, the surgeon handed him a piece of paper and said, "There you go, take that with you." And he looked at it and he said, "What's that?" And the surgeon said, "It's a script." And he said, "Oh, right. What's a script?" And the surgeon said, "You're kidding." He goes, "No, no, no. What's a script? I don't know what a script is." He goes, "You take it to the chemist and they give you tablets." And he goes, "Ah." And he said, "Haven't you ever had a script before?" And he goes, "I don't think so." And, and he rang
That's
me,
the goal, right?
and he rang me on the way home. And he goes, "Dad, have I ever had a script before?" And I went, "I don't think so." And he told me that the surgeon had given him antibiotics, and he said, "What should I do?" And I said, "Well, that's your decision, mate. It's not mine. You need to go back and ask him why,
Mm,
get a clear explanation, and then you make your decision about what you want to do. And if you
mm.
do use them, then I'll help you make sure we get your gut nice and healthy again." So it was all good, But yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
It is. And we do forget how sensitive our gut is and that gut brain connection. Um, but I know for myself, when I'm hungry, I can get hangry. And I know there's a lot of people out there. So that our gut, we really need to take care of it, even at that, small level, to make sure that we're eating well, we're eating right. Because if you've got kids, you've seen it. You give them cheesels and red cordial, they are flipping out of the roof. You
Yeah,
give them, healthy food and water, they're different children. So we can see it more, but we expect ourselves to behave differently, but we eat the same food and then wonder why we've got brain fog or hangry or, any of that.
you bet. And it's really funny because I mean, I've had construction sites I've gone and done work on and delivered these talks on.
Mm,
And next time I come back, all of the soft drinks been taken out of the refrigerators in the cafeteria and it's full of kombucha.
nice.
Yeah, it's
That's
pretty cool.
great change.
Well, because a lot of people don't realize that's how men are. See, if you teach men to the point where they understand and it makes complete sense to them,
Mm,
they make a change.
yeah.
What men don't like is they don't like being told what to do. Especially the guys in the construction industry or the mining industry. It-
100%. And I'm
yeah,
laughing because my husband's exactly the same.
yeah. Well, I've had guys come up to me at the end of talks and say, "You know what? My wife's been trying to tell me this stuff for 20 years." And I go, "Right. And you thought she was bullshitting, right?" You go, "Yep." I said, "Well, okay. So when you get home, you need to kneel down, apologize, and start listening." And you go, "Yeah, right. I think I might do that."
Yes, man. Listen to your wives. They love you.
So good. So good. Yeah.
Uh, now, John, there's probably people listening who can't wait to the summit to connect with you. What's the best way for them to reach out and get in touch?
Oh, they can get me on LinkedIn or just my email address is JT John Toomey at wideawakewellness.com.au.
Fantastic. And once again, John, I am so grateful that you're coming back to speak. I'm so looking forward to seeing you again. And thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Not a problem, Nicole. I'm looking forward to it too. So thank you for inviting me again.
You're welcome. See you soon.
Okay.